Welcome everybody. I'm a music nerd here, and I'm here with the homie. Say what's up.
What's up? It's Kira.
Kira was a diver. We're doing a different type of video. We're going to be doing a album draft, and basically the year that we have chosen is 1996, which is a great year for music, and we decided to draft 7 albums that we would, select um, in our collective. So the categories that we have had is rock, R&B, pop, alternative, dance, electronic, which are both one genre, um, and
Rap.
rap, and then the last one is going to be a wild card choice, which is basically anything that's not of those previous categories. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to run through this fantastic year. Is there any comments you want to have before we kind of get started? We're going to do like a coin toss before decide who gets first. But any like general things about this year music that you want to touch on before we get started?
I just the only thing I wanted to say, which is probably not what you're expecting for me to say, but the reason I wanted to do this year is because it's the year I was born. So
Yeah.
I literally was given birth to in this year. So I wasn't really listening to much music in this year, but I got around to it later.
But you know what? It worked out because 25 years ago, right?
Yes, 25
So
years.
basically, a lot of these albums, actually every album that was released this year is gonna be celebrating some type of anniversary. So it's
Including me.
including you. So it works out perfectly. Um, so yeah, so we're gonna start with a coin toss, decide who goes first. I'm gonna try to have this on camera. Kira, which do you select, heads or tails?
Tails.
Okay.
Why? What is it?
It's tails. It's tails. It's tails.
It's
It
like a
was
weird coin where you
it
can't
was
tell.
spinning for like 2 seconds,
Oh,
but all right.
okay.
So
Oh, I go first?
yes.
Ooh, okay. I already know what my first one is.
All right, go ahead.
You ready for this? Okay, so I think I'm gonna go with one genre or like category that I really wanted to get my first pick. Other categories, I'm like more like whatever. You can pick one, I'll just pick the second one. But this one, I really want my first pick. So I'm going to go with an album that you probably already know what I'm gonna do. It's one of my favorite albums of this year. It probably is my favorite album of 1996, which is why I want to do it as well. And I already own it on record.
Mhm,
It's Introducing by
mhm.
DJ Shadow. I talk about this album constantly. It's the only album I own from 1996, so you're not going to see any more records, but yeah, I really like this album. It is just so dark and so beautiful, in my opinion. And I really, I don't know, like I discovered this album like quite late, maybe just a couple years ago, but ever since then, it's just had such a big impact upon me. Um, just like discovering DJ Shadow and like Madlib and stuff like that. Just sort of different type of production where like the production itself can just be an album that you listen to by itself and doesn't need any like rapping over the top of it. I just love that type of stuff. So yeah, I really like this album. And it sort of falls under trip hop. I think we discussed on our last video together. So that's electronic enough for me. So I'm putting it in this category. So I'm taking Introducing by DJ Shadow.
So you're putting in the dance electronic category?
Trip hop,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Electronic more than dance. You wouldn't really dance to this.
Okay. So
Yeah.
all right. So I knew that you were gonna I knew you were gonna that was gonna be your first pick. I mean, look, you know, this album. What else is there to be said about it? That hasn't already been said. It's like one of the best albums of the '90s. Highly influential. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Kara just like basically said it all. So yeah, just
It's
like
amazing.
it's like really good.
It
So
just sounds, it's essentially just sounds like the backing track of like a really good hip hop album, but it's
mhm,
like so good. It's just fine how it is. Oh,
mhm,
it's just so good.
mhm.
Anyway,
So my number one pick, I mean, this one I played this so many times over the years, and this category was so freaking hard to choose. Like there are so many good albums in the rap category.
yeah, do
Like,
you talk about rap?
I mean,
Hard.
like I literally like spent like 20 minutes like yeah, like man, I realized that I listened to a lot of albums from this year, but
Mm.
my pick, I'm gonna have to go with Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt. Um, that's gonna be my pick in the rap category. I think for
Fair.
Jay-Z to be his number one album, I mean, for Jay-Z to be his first album, first of all, it's still my favorite Jay-Z album. I still think that for him to come out, his first album out the gate, 27 years old, and in the middle of like steep competition, like Biggie Smalls, Tupac, Nas, Wu-Tang Clan, Ma Deep, and just come out and say, here you go. And guy just kills it. I mean, they're just like, and it's the genesis of one of the greatest hip hop careers ever, and the guy is, you know, what can you say about him? He's a mogul, he's an entrepreneur, he's married to freaking Beyonce. Um, this is the album that started it all. And while it didn't really sell, incredibly well when it debuted, it has gone on to become a hip hop classic. So, yeah, I got to go with Reasonable Doubt here in this category. As hard
Hmm.
as it was picking, and there were some other great choices, but I got to go to the album that I've returned to the most, and it's that one.
Yeah. I'm just writing down what we're picking so we can keep track. So sorry if I was doing that. But yeah, my opinions on that is that I'm surprised. I really had in my mind that you were going to pick something else, probably something that made it difficult for you to pick Jay-Z in the end. But I had a feeling we were going to go the other way. So what I picked was taking into account that you were going to pick something else, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So now I can pick that thing. I'm talking in like code right now. That was what I'm talking about until later. But I'm just a bit surprised by the pick. Like, I personally am not a huge Jay-Z fan, not because I don't like him, just because I haven't listened to him too much. And I've just listened to a few other artists that had an album that came out in 1996 a bit more. So those were the ones that I was going between. But I mean, just add this album to my list of albums I should go and listen to. Jay-Z 1996. I'm just really impressed if you put it as your number one over some other albums from this year. It must be really good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like I said, it was literally down to like 20 minutes of like making
Okay,
that tough
great.
choice. So
Damn. Now it's going to be tough for me because I feel like I've got all the options in the world for rap. So this is
you
like
do.
really hard.
There's a lot of good ones. There's no wrong
Yeah.
pick here.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about it later.
All
We'll
right.
get to that later because I can leave that to the end now. All right. I'm trying to figure out what next pick do I really want to get. I'm thinking I want to go with R&B here
Mm,
because I don't know what you're going to pick for. There's a few where I feel like I know what you're going to go with, rap included, so maybe I have no idea. But I feel like R&B, I'm not sure what you're going to do, so I want to get in there and pick mine quick and then run away. So I'm going to go with R&B.
mm-hmm,
I'm going to go with Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite by Maxwell.
that's a good one.
I've been listening to this album literally like since we decided to do this video last week. I've been listening to it nonstop. Because R&B was the one where I was like, I haven't really listened to an R&B album from 1996 in a long time. So I went and re-listened to a couple, and then this one, I just couldn't stop listening to it, and I was like, okay, I'm picking this album. Like, it's just so smooth. It makes me feel like I'm in 1996, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like I'm transported back in time, even though I was 0 years old. But it's just, it like is one of those picks where I just feel like it really feels like 1996 and like makes me have a lot of nostalgia for the 90s and for early 2000s, even just like when I was young and what music I listened to then. So I'm just going to go with this pick. I haven't really listened to much Maxwell apart from this album. So I don't know if you listen to him a lot and or could recommend anything else, but I really like this specific album. So I'm gonna go with this one for R&B.
It's a great choice. I mean, Maxwell, to me, like, this was kind of like the album that kind of made him a superstar in R&B.
Yeah.
Um, I love his like way like he made Black Summer's Night, which is so he's actually doing he did like a trilogy. So he did Black Summer's Night in 2009, which the black part of it
Okay.
was on caps, and then he did another album called Black Summer's Night, where it's the Summers is on all caps. So I guess his third album is going to be the same album title with Night is all caps. It's very confusing to those who probably don't know Maxwell very well, but it's a trilogy of albums. They're all fire. Like, I'm telling you, like, Maxwell, to me, he is very underrated in R&B. I don't know why people don't talk about him as much, but he is really a great singer, and he really, like, in terms of, like, classic soul singers from this period, he's, like, among the best. And
I really like him, yeah.
He's got
I
that.
didn't realize I did, you know?
Yeah,
I didn't realize I liked him that much until I re-listened to the album and I was like, wait, this is like literally perfect. I love this album.
Yeah.
Like, I want it on record now after listening to it. It's just so good.
It's just a cool, like, laid back type of album. Like, just like it's I think Maxwell kind of has that that combination of like kind of like, you know, similar to like D'Angelo and like Jill Scott, where it's just like,
I was thinking that.
Like all those people like at that period were just bringing soul back into the mainstream, and so this is a great album.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I am I'm interested to see what other people think of it though, because I just don't see people talking about Maxwell very much.
No.
Like, you're like the first person I've ever talked to Maxwell about in my whole entire life. Like, honestly, like I just don't talk about this like him as an artist or this album much at all. So this pick is a bit of because we're gonna sort of figure out at the end who won the draft, and specifically with this album, I'm unsure about how well it will like go when it comes to how well other people receive it. And how it's rated and stuff like that. But I really wanted to pick it just because I don't feel as passionate about any other R&B album in this year as I do with this one. It's just more of like a personal pick. Like, I just love listening to it. So I had to pick it.
Yeah. So this was not going to be the R&B pick that I was going to choose. And I was praying that you did not pick the other one, but we will get to that.
I have a feeling that I know you picked then.
But for my next pick, I got to get into this category before you get into it, because I know you're probably going to pick this one. But for the alternative category, I'm going to be picking Odelay from Beck.
Oh, okay. All right. We're good.
Okay.
Just.
Yeah, I probably listened to this album like just I don't know how many times. Like hundreds of times. I mean, this album really back at the time was kind of like a one-hit wonder, and this album like made people realize that this guy was like super talented. When you just listen to this album, just doesn't sound like anything else. Like, and you can't really like trace how it influenced, like, you know, for example, like Maxwell, like you can definitely hear the influences from like younger R&B singers today to Maxwell. Like, what the hell can you trace to this album? This album's just a complete, like, it was like dropped out of outer space. Like, it's so many different types of sounds on this album, from like hip hop to bossa nova to metal to spacey rock to R&B, like the samples on this, which kind of fits in perfectly with the DJ Shadow thing, where it's like this album was produced by the Dust Brothers, who also produced the Beastie Boys' Paul's Boutique, and that album was like known for being like innovative in sampling back in the late 80s. And so they worked with Beck here, and although the album is more like rock based instead of hip hop based, you definitely can hear the hip hop influences on this record, and just like the fact this album actually was very popular at the time. It's just like the creativity on this album from like track to track, no song sounds the same. Like you listen to one song and then you listen to another song and it's like, how does somebody like compile all this into a piece of work? And so I listened to it and I marvel at it. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. And really like started like, Beck is like one of the most eclectic singers of our generation. And it started with this album here, Odelay.
Yeah, this one also has a cult following, I feel like. Like in the sense of like no one talks to me about Maxwell, like people talk to me about this album. Like this album is still talked about all the time till this day. It's had such an impact, like you said. And yeah, when I think of this album, I just think like cult following. Like people just love this album. Is Loser on this one? Sorry, I'm not like a Okay, right. Loser's on another one. But yeah, it's like Loser and then this album. These are like the two things from Beck back in the day that people still talk about like all the time to me. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You love Beck.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like him too. But I don't like him as much as you think I like him, I think. Because yeah, I did go with another pick over Beck here. Even though I had a feeling this one would be very highly rated by the public and would probably get me a lot of good points. So I was like, nah, there's other ones I like more, so you'll see. All right, I'm just trying to decide now between rock and pop, which one I should go with. Trying to like read into your eyes what you picked and what I should go with. I feel like with pop, I have two that I would be happy to go with either, while rock, I would really like to go with one, so I might go with rock here. And I'm gonna pick a post-rock album, because I had to look up all the genres to figure out what was alternative and what was rock. But this is under post-rock. So it's Soundtracks for the Blind by Swans.
Interesting.
Do you listen to the Swans?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I had a feeling. So I knew I could leave this till later because you wouldn't pick it. But me and my dad, we have a soft spot for the Swans. Like he has pretty much nearly all their albums. So I've listened to them a bunch over at Dad's, and I want to start collecting the records myself. So like you sort of pitched this idea to me, it's like, what would I want to own on record? And for sure I want to own Soundtracks for the Blind by the Swans on record. It's definitely one of their best albums. In the same sense of Odelay, it has a bit of a cult following, definitely smaller because it's Swans and they don't really appeal to everyone's ears, but especially within like the Swans sort of following, Soundtracks for the Blind gets the cult following. Like it's the cult following status of all their albums, in my opinion. It's just really loved by a lot of people. And I think it's such an interesting, crazy, wild, explosive, intense listen. Don't know how else to describe it except 20 different words. It's very crazy, and I definitely wouldn't recommend it as like the first Swans listen. But eventually, if someone gets into Swans, like Soundtracks for the Blind is like a must. It's just like it has to happen, and it has to be like one of your favorite Swans albums. So when I didn't realize this came out in 1996 either. So when I saw that it came out in 1996, I was like, oh, like I feel like I had just like found a piece of gold, like in the dirt, you know? So I was like, this is perfect. So yeah, definitely that's my rock pick for post-rock.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm also, I feel like again with all my picks, I'm interested to see how they go.
Yeah, your draft is definitely not how I thought it was gonna go. So I like this. This is definitely keeping me on edge here.
I feel like the rest of it might go more how you think it will go.
Okay.
These are all my weird ones. But yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna stay in the rock category, and I'm going to pick Rage Against the Machine, Evil Empire.
Okay.
That one
All right.
is not my favorite Rage record, but looking at the rock records in this year, I think this is the album that kind of like broke into the mainstream. It's their first #1 record. Bulls on Parade. I mean, of course, everybody knows that song.
I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs
It's
ever.
it's an
Yeah.
incredible song. I did not even know, like growing up, like if anybody has like the old CDs of this record, but I used to genuinely think that Tom Morello, the guitarist, like I thought this album was sampled. I had no idea growing up that no, there was no samples on this album. It was all Tom Morello's work on the guitar.
Wow,
That
yeah.
stuff. Like even on both, like watching videos of them performing Bulls on Parade live, and when they do like the scratching thing, like that's all Tom Morello on the. Like I had no idea. That blew my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
So
amazing.
yeah, total respect for the band for kind of fusing rock and hip hop and really doing it at a time when nobody was. I mean, Beastie Boys was doing it, but like Rage Against the Machine was like more like a rock band, and
Metal.
yeah,
Sort of.
like
Yeah.
they were the originators of like new metal, which
Yeah.
unfortunately for a lot of people, they kind of blame them for that. But at the time, it was fresh, it was like exciting, and songs like Bulls on Parade, People of the Sun, I love that song. Vietnam, Roll Right. There's just so many great songs on this album. So I'm gonna go with this one. Even
Yeah.
though
I have an interesting relationship with Rage Against the Machine because I discovered Bulls on Parade and Killing in the Name maybe like a year or two ago. Absolutely fell in love with both of those songs and went through like separate intense obsessions with both for a year with Killing in the Name and then a year with Bulls on Parade. And I finally felt like I was ready to be like, okay, let's listen to an album. And then I made my reactions channel and like everyone wants to see me react to Rage. So I can't really put myself in a position to like listen to their albums because I want to save it for my reaction videos. But I know I'll like this album a lot because I really love Bulls on Parade. So I actually had this as like one of my maybes for Wildcard because it was rap and metal. So I was like, it's a fuse of two genres. Maybe I could put it in the Wildcard or something like that. But now that you've picked it, obviously I can't do that. So but yeah, I was thinking I could have maybe picked it just because I know I would like to listen to it in the future and I really like Bulls on Parade, but I'm happy with you picking it because you've actually listened to the album, so.
Mhm. Like
But
I
yeah,
said,
I'm very excited to listen to it
yeah, I mean,
again.
like I said, it's not my favorite. I would say out of their three albums, it's probably like my least favorite, but I will say that this album, like their discography, is still really strong.
All right, I'm gonna go with pop because I love having the first picks of categories. It just makes me feel like I've got power. Um, but yeah, actually, I have no idea what to pick. Like, I'm so stuck
This was
between
hard.
two.
This category is
Maybe I
hard.
should,
You're gonna
yeah,
be
maybe I
very
should
surprised at my
go.
pick.
Oh, that confuses me more. Oh God. Okay. Maybe I should go with the wild card then.
Uh,
Actually, yeah, no, I want to switch it up. I want to go with my wild card pick.
okay,
Can I do that? Yeah,
sure.
no, I'm doing it. I want to go with my wild card pick because there's a beautiful funk album that I love from this year. It's Traveling Without Moving by Jamiroquai, which is
Mm.
one of my favorite funk. I mean, he's like not totally funk, but funkish artists. I like to think of him as funk.
Is that the
Um,
album with Virtual Insanity?
yeah, and Cosmic Girl.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I forget what the album is, but there's one that comes out in like 2001, I think, with some other good songs off from Jamiroquai on. So this is probably my second favorite album with him after like an early 2000s album by him. But this album is not one that I grew up with because clearly I was like 0 years old. But so I didn't really see it come out or anything like that. But returning to it now, it's another album that I listened to a lot, putting this video together and sort of like trying to figure out what do I love. And so I was like, okay, Jamiroquai. I've never listened to this album of full. I've heard a couple of songs like Virtual Insanity and Cosmic Girl. And I've listened to other albums by him that I love and like I grew up with. But I wanted to return to this one and literally listen to the whole entire thing because I do love Jamiroquai. I listened to it and I was like, this is an amazing album. I love this album. So once again, similar to Maxwell, just listening to it constantly throughout the last few days, I'm just like here for this Jamiroquai like disco dance funk sesh. It could go under dance slash electronic as well, but I sort of see it more like funk. And I think he would say it's a funk album, even if it's not slightly exactly like the classical, not classical, but like the classic funk that you would expect. But yeah, I feel like I would classify this album as funk. So I'm gonna throw it in my wildcard pick, because Jamiroquai is just one of my favorite like nostalgic artists from the early 2000s. So I just love him. But once again, probably a pick where it's like, I don't know how this is gonna go when it comes down to it, because it's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, I mean, Jamiroquai, I remember him like that Virtual Insanity video. That was like one of the first music videos I ever seen as a kid. So every time I hear that name, like I imagine like the funny hat he used to wear, like the look of it, the album covers.
Cowboy.
I never, yeah. So I gotta go back and listen to this album because like I haven't really thought about Jamiroquai, to be honest with you, in like 15 years, you know?
Literally,
But
yeah.
like that song was like those two songs, Virtual Insane, Cosmic Girl, fucking great songs.
They're so good.
They're
So
so
like that,
good.
those two start off the album. I just searched it up quickly, but those two start off the album. And then
Hmm.
there's like another like 10 songs or like 15 songs after that. And I was just like jamming the entire time. There's like two songs that are inspired by the didgeridoo. And it's like funk infused didgeridoo music, which is like this instrument in Australia, the Aboriginal First Nations people play in Australia. And I was literally like vibing. I was like, this is the best. Like, I love this. And maybe you want to go just listen to didgeridoo music. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, he was getting so influenced and so like inspired. You could tell just by like different types of sounds and instruments. And I was just loving the album. It's just so fun. Such a good listen. And I just wanted to look it up as well because I wanted to tell you that the other album I really like by him, if you haven't listened to Jamiroquai in a while, is A Funk Odyssey. That came out in 2001. And like at 5 years old, I was like jamming to that. Like I loved that album all the time while I was growing up. But Traveling Without Music is also probably my second favorite Jamiroquai album. So pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, thanks for bringing him up, but now I gotta go check him out again. I gotta
Funk
get back.
music.
I gotta get back to my space funk vibes, the late '90s. Okay, so my next pick will be in the R&B category,
Hmm.
and I had originally was gonna pick Maxwell, but I
Oh,
but I went back and listened to this album, and I was like, you know what, I love this more. And obviously for you, Jamiroquai has a lot of nostalgic vibes for you, but this
yeah.
album has a lot of nostalgic vibes for me as well. And so for my R&B character, I'm going with Aaliyah's "One in a Million."
Yeah, okay. That
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Like that, I feel like that's like I don't want to be offensive, but it's like I feel like that was like the safe bet, if that makes sense. Do you
Right.
feel that? Like it's very like it's just like classic sort of like I don't know, you talk, you talk.
I
I
mean,
was I was really thinking about picking that one.
yeah, you know, and I think for me, I'm like a huge Timberland fan. He's probably like one of my favorite, probably my favorite music producer. And
Mm,
I think him and Aaliyah just work so well together. I mean, she was just an incredible talent. And, you know, God, the songs here, like, still get sampled, like, to this day in hip hop and R&B
yeah.
music, like her, like "One in a Million," "4 Page Letter," "If Your Girl Only Knew." It's just like it's such a vibe, you know. And I used to think like she was like one, like her, Missy Elliott, Timberland, like that whole crew. I used to think they were
Yep.
so cool, you know. And the music, like the music they would put out, would just like every summer, like they would just kill the summer. And but this album, actually going back and listening to it, it's been years to listen to it. It's really good. Like, and that's why I was saying it was between this and Maxwell. But like, I don't know, man, Leah
Okay.
and Timberland, that duo was something special for me. For me, I think it was like the spacey funk R&B kind of like um, that would be very influential on like Pharrell and like, you know, just like, yeah, and beyond Kanye, so I think that the way that Timberland made this R&B, it was a different type of R&B, and it was great. This was so great about this year is that was so different from Maxwell, but it was both very popular and both can exist on the same
Yeah.
plane, even though there are two different types of like lanes. So, um, this album is really great. One of those albums that just like, I think it's probably Aaliyah's best studio album for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this was like if I wanted to do the safe, not saying it's not amazing and worth a good pick here, but I feel like when I was going between the two, I was like, it's either like Maxwell, which I never hear people talk about much anymore, or Aaliyah, where I feel like it sort of still stands the test of time a bit, which means it's probably like that shows that it's a really good album and a really good pick. But I was like, I don't know. I felt like with Maxwell, maybe I'm going to be risking it a bit more. So we'll see how those two albums go up against each other later. So I'm very interested to see. But yeah, Aaliyah's a really good pick. I'm very happy. And it's the first women on the board, which I'm sure more women will come in the pop category quite soon.
Yes.
Because there's some good pop records from my females in this year. But yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, I think I'm going to stay away from the pop category until you get to the pop category, which might mean it's our last picks. But I'm gonna keep moving around the board here. I still have to pick my rap, alternative, and pop. So I'm gonna go with my alternative here. I'm gonna go with. Let me read out the name because it's long. This is a long drive for someone with nothing to think about by Modest Mouse. This is my pick for alternative. It's alternative rock. I looked it up.
Okay.
And Modest Mouse is one of my favorite alternative bands from like the 2000s, from this sort of like era of the last 25 years, even though they're not putting as much stuff out anymore. But yeah, I really like Modest Mouse. Me and my best friend, we both love them, and we like will send each other songs with all these lyrics we like really relate to and be like, oh my god, this is so you, or this is so me, and like cry about it and stuff like that. So I got a lot of like personal connection with Modest Mouse because I love so many different like little songs by them. And then this album specifically, like I love the song Dramamine, which is I think the first song on the album and like the standout track that like a lot of people know and listen to. But the rest of the album's like really nice as well, in my opinion. Like it drones a little bit, but that's the whole point. It's an album about like being on a really long drive with nothing to think about. So if you go into the album knowing that that's sort of the vibe you're going to get, then you're probably going to love this album. And I think it really is good for a long drive. But yeah, I really like Modest Mouse. Love them for their lyrics mostly. And then secondly, I love the guitars and like just sort of the lo-fi feel it has. It makes me feel like I'm just like hanging with someone that's just like playing their guitar and like singing about whatever comes to their head. And I sort of like that vibe. So yeah, that's gonna be my pick for alternative. It was between that and like On Avery Island, which is another album like I think I like quite a bit, but I like this one a little bit more. So I'm gonna go to this pick. Yeah.
Yeah, I did not think you were gonna pick this one in this category.
What do you think I was gonna pick?
We'll get to that.
Anything else?
we'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, I was not aware that Modest Mouse dated all the way back to the mid '90s, so I gotta check that out.
I think it's their debut album, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Was this one of those albums that you knew before we did this, or
Yeah, I couldn't I didn't specifically remember that this album came out in 1996, but when I saw it, I wasn't as surprised as like Swans, for instance.
Right.
I was like, oh yeah, for sure, and then I picked it. I was like, there you go, there's an alternative. This is the one where like it was this and Soundtracks to the Blind by Swans, so I was a little confused like what goes where, but yeah, this one's alternative, and then Soundtracks is post rock, so that's where they fit. So yeah, I'm pretty happy because I'm getting all my first picks for everything.
You are. All right, so I'm going to go to my next pick. I'm going to go to the pop category. And this was this was hard because there are some pop albums here. Like the field's kind of barren, but
A little bit, yeah.
it is kind of barren this year. But in the pop category, and I'm going to defend this, I'm going to choose Spice Girls.
Yeah,
Spice.
I had a feeling when you said like that your pick's a little like, you know, I'm gonna be like a little surprised. I was like, I know exactly what he's talking about.
So if a younger kid came up to me and said, music nerd, what does pop music in the late 90s sound like? What did it sound like, especially in 96?
Yeah.
I'm going to give them my cassette tape of Spice Girls and say, take a listen. Now, I don't own a cassette tape of Spice Girls, but if I did, I'll lend it to them. I think that, listen, look, that song "Wannabe" is one of the most. Say what you want about it, and it's annoying, and I hear it playing in my head as we speak. But when those Ferks lyrics come on, you know exactly what song it
Yeah,
is.
tell me what you want. What you really want. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? And it's, I remember that song like playing on the radio all the time when I was a kid, and that video, all that stuff. But Spice Girls were really like, they were a huge phenomenon. Like this album sold like millions, and like it went like diamond, I think, and worldwide. Like the Spice Girls like came out for like 2 years, ruled America, and then got their money and got out. But like,
Really?
but like, but this album, like in terms of like bubblegum pop music, I dare you to find stuff that was better than this at this time period. I mean, really, they changed pop music in a sense. Like, you know, you know, there would be no Britney Spears, there would be no Christina Aguilera, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, all that stuff that went on to dominate pop for like MTV for like 5-6 years. It all started from Spice Girls, and they proved that, girl bands could be, pop bands could be, not just sell records, but like, they had like action figures, they had movies, they were a huge commodity worldwide. So is it a solid pop album that's influential in some respects? Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is going to be my pop choice.
This is definitely like the pop album I listened to the most growing up, like from 1996, like for sure. I remember when I discovered Wannabe, I was pretty young at the time, and I just fell in love with the song. Like it was my anthem. Like a lot of young people's, especially young girls, at that time. And then there's like a few other tracks as well, especially the second and third on this album that I think are really good as well, and I can listen to. So yeah,
there.
this was, yeah, I love that song. So there's a few tracks on this album, and then Wannabe just sort of sells it as like, this is definitely like a solid record right here. And like you said, it's influential. And I like it for that reason as well. I think like Spice Girls and Destiny's Child, like those would be like the
That
two
one too. Yep.
girl groups. Yeah, the two girl groups that I would really vibe with when I was younger, for sure. But I had it in my number 2 spot for pop, with probably like 49% of my attention, and another one has 51. So the other one just went me over. So I'm happy with that. You made the decision for me,
Who was your favorite Spice growing up?
Oh God, probably Sporty.
Right.
Yeah. Or maybe Baby. Is her name Baby? What's the
Girl with
blonde
the
one?
pigtails.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, is it Baby? Baby
I think so.
Spice? I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
think
Baby
so.
Spice.
Yeah.
Those two were like, I really liked them. And then like Posh Spice literally made no sense to me. I was always just like, what? Like, what is Victoria Beckham doing here? Like, I'm so confused. What about you? Who's your favorite?
I mean, I really, I guess Sporty Spice. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
It's a little different. I like it.
yeah, I mean they were all like, you know, they all serve their purpose, you know. And I think that, I mean, it's an album that it does get a bad rep. I can see how people like loved it, but at the time, like I couldn't stand Wannabe. I couldn't stand that song. Now I go back and it's like, all right, it wasn't that bad. It's definitely
No,
better
it's nice.
stuff that we have today.
Don't get me started. But yeah, I love like music from when I was growing up, like between the ages of like toddler to like 7 or 8. Like it's just so special in my heart. And Wannabe is one of those songs. I don't get sick of it. I'm one of those people that can just listen to it constantly, and I'll sing every word to you or yell. You know, that's
Please don't. But
but I can just just hit me up if you ever want it.
I'll mute you.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do pop now because I want to do it like along with you. So you're going with Spice. I'm gonna go with my other pick that I was tossing and turning between with Spice, and that would be Tidal by Fiona Apple. Her debut. I'm pretty sure. Sorry if I'm calling all these debuts when they're not debuts, but I'm pretty sure they all are.
It is.
Yeah. I am a debut queen right now. Like I didn't realize I had all these debuts of amazing artists that went on to have amazing careers after these first 1996 albums. If you look at 1996, it's actually beautiful to see so many artists bringing out their first albums and then creating like a legacy that is followed by a lot, either more albums that are even better or that album just growing and growing in cult status, like DJ Shadow introducing. So I'm just here for all these new artists, new albums dropping in 1996. Like, what a fun year. And Fiona Apple is one of them. I literally loved Fetch the Bolt Cutters, her latest album that came out in 2020, 24 years after this. So good, just as good, maybe better. Yeah, like it's so nice to be able to see that I can pick some albums here that are just of artists that I've like known of and grown to love over the last 20 years. And that their journey started in 1996. So yeah, I love Tidal. I really like Tidal. I think it's a solid debut album, and I think it's got really good playability. So I'm picking Tidal here. It was very close between this and Spice.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
You know, I think that you know, Fiona Apple definitely has like her dedicated fans, and like you said, like she 25 years strong, the girl's gonna like, you know, let's see if she wins in the Grammys this year, like just being like still putting out strong work. And like she's another one that I think, like Maxwell, doesn't really get a lot of like her due, but I'm glad that over the past year with Fetch the Bolt Cutters that she's finally like getting her due. And just a very, very good discography.
Yeah, literally.
And during and during this time, like I remember the song "Criminal," which is a great video as well. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I watched the video. I'll check that out. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I feel like she doesn't get the praise she deserves, and she doesn't get the recognition she deserves. She's like one of my favorite female artists of the last like 25 years for sure. So that's all I wanted to say. But like you said, hopefully Fetch the Bolt Cutters, it seems to be getting a bit more recognition than she usually does for other albums, so that's great. Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, wow, I got my first pick again, killing it. What if I get all my first picks and I still lose the draft? Like that's so embarrassing.
Hey, we pick with our hearts here, all right? We pick with our hearts, and we'll shoot first, ask questions later. I'm definitely I'm curious about the Spice Girls rating. But anyways, all right. So I'm gonna go to the dance electronic category, and to be honest, this category was also a little bearing. I felt like, 95, 97, like it was those years were a lot stronger in terms of the electronic categories. 96 was kind of like a transitional year, but I went back and forth between a couple of choices, and I think For me, I'm going to go with Aphex Twin, Richard B. James album.
Thank you.
I think Aphex Twin, another one. Just this was kind of the bless you.
Sorry.
I could have also picked Fat Boy Slim in this category as well, but
yep.
I like You Come a Long Way, Baby, a lot more. So, and that came out in '98. I think here Richard B. James, one of Aphex Twin's like strongest works, and just the influence that he's had on electronic music. The past like 20-25 years with this album is just like huge. So yeah, I mean, I think I haven't listened to this album before this, maybe in like 20 years. But like
wow.
Going back to this, like it was like, yeah, I can definitely hear the influences of like feature electronic music tracing back to this one. So
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
This is gonna be my choice. I know you're Aphex Twin a lot more than I do. You want to speak on this album?
Yeah, I love I Care Because You Do. That's one of my favorite albums ever in history. And that came out in 1995, I believe, a year before this one. This album, Richard D. James, definitely gets the spotlight when it comes to the 1990s Aphex Twin discography. And so I always get a little like annoyed about this album sometimes because like I love I Care Because You Do, and I wish more people talked about that one. I feel like this one steals all the limelight, but it steals it for a good reason. It is objectively a better album, for sure. But I personally didn't want to pick it just because like I'm a I Care Because You Do girl. So like I'm back in the 1995. That's where I'm at. So and I'm an introducing girl as well. So this was definitely my second pick. If you chose introducing, like in an alternative world where that coin went to tails, or like sorry, heads. It went to heads and you had to pick and you picked electronic first. I would have picked this and been like, I really appreciate this album for what it did. Like it is his like most popular album from the 1990s along with Ambient Works. And a lot of people think this is his best album. And like you said, it's sort of listening to any of his stuff from the 1990s, you can tell the influence. It's sort of as like a fortune teller, like his music from the 1990s. It sort of like showed the way for what music was going to become and sound like more in the 2010s, in my opinion. And I feel like I hear a lot of his beat styles now in music, such as like electronic music, but also like pop and rap. So I just really appreciate his work back in 1990s for that reason. So yeah, it's an amazing pick. I think this is going to be very highly rated, this album. So you're going to do pretty well with this pick. I'm interested to see how introducing goes. Rap. What do you think? I want to know what you thought I picked. This is so annoying. Okay.
I know.
All right.
I have a hunch of what you may have picked, but there's a lot of there's a lot of great choices here. There's really no bad answer, except if you pick Kid Rock. But other than Kid Rock, there's really like, God, there's so many good choices here.
There's like 3 choices here that I would be totally happy with. Which most of my what are they called? Honorable mentions are going to be from the rap category here.
Me too.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go. Oh, this is so annoying. Oh, it's such a good category. Okay. I'm going to go with the score.
Yeah. Yep.
Which I didn't think I was going to do because I thought you were going to pick that.
That was my second one.
That's why I was confused.
That was my second pick.
Yeah, I thought you were going to pick that. So you said Jay-Z. I was like, wait, I could pick the score, and it changed everything. My whole entire life changed before my eyes. So yeah, I thought I'll say my honorable mentions later, which ones I thought I was going to have to pick between, but now that I can pick the score, of course I'm going to pick the score, like them. Lauryn Hill, legend, absolute legend. I love her. she's controversial, and like a little, I don't know, weird sometimes, and arrives like 2 hours late to a concerts now and stuff like that. Got a bit of celebrity-itis, but I love this album, and I love Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. You can't deny that. Like, they're just amazing works of art. Like, there's just so many, like, classics, like, epics on this album. And I just love how there's a mix of, like, R&B and soul and hip-hop/rap, and it's just, like, such a beautiful blend of all of it. Every time Lauren raps, I'm just like, like, I just, like, my eyes just go, oh my, like, I just love it so much. And this album is just like, it's like in another 200 years from now, like people will still be talking about it.
Exactly.
That's how I see this album. You can't not talk. You can't not put it in this draft. You know what I mean? I can't leave it out.
You can't.
So
I mean, it's an incredible album. Like literally no bad songs here. I mean, Ready or Not, Killing Me Softly, Fuji La. I mean, you know, it almost frustrates me because I wish we gotten more from this group, you know?
Yes, I know.
Like they were the chemistry between these three was just so
perfect.
It's perfect. Like you can't, and the fact that was like, this was their second album. Like they were literally on the brink of being dropped from their label because their first album sold like very little. And then they came back with this album and it took over the world. Went number one, won them a Grammy, set the course for all of their careers. Like you can't ask for a better comeback story than that. From being on the brink of being irrelevant to making a classic album that everybody loved. And I mean, you cannot talk about this album. This album is like one of the best rap albums of all time. Like
ever.
I mean, Lauryn Hill is like a beast. Wyclef Jean is a beast. Pras, even he has great raps here and there, and in terms of conscious rap, it still holds up 25 years later.
I can still listen to it and be
the
like,
skits are great. It's really, a masterpiece.
So good. It's amazing. And I would love to have this on record. Like, oh my God, if I get this on vinyl, I would just stare at it for like a day. It's like, oh, I own it. Like, it's just, it's literally, it's the fact that they never really went on to do anything else. Like, it makes this album even more special. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like the only thing we can hold on to and be like, it's here. Mm-hmm. They did this though, And then Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, just those two albums to get, oh God. Yeah. Anyway, well, when did Miseducation of Lauryn Hill come out? I don't
98.
know. Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. We should go 98.
Hey, that was the first album I've ever listened to when I was a kid.
Oh, wow. My first album I ever listened to was Demon Days by the Gorillaz.
Yeah.
Like the classic 2000s kid,
Nice, yeah.
That was like all our first listens. No, that's the fact that was your first album that you listened to is amazing. You started off strong. It was such a good taste. Wow. How old were you?
I was like 5. Like my older brother was like playing it. We played that album nonstop.
Yeah.
Literally nonstop. Because at the time, like that was all everybody was talking about was that album.
Yep. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got one more to go.
Yeah.
Wildcard for Kevin is coming up.
So the wildcard category, basically, man, so you picked DJ Shadow, which I knew you were probably going to do. So that was going to be like my wildcard pick. But going through this, I would pick Wilco's Being There. Which is one of their highly regarded albums. I mean, Wilco, another band that like has gone on to have a very successful career. And Being There, it has some rock elements, but of course, alternative country was a big deal back at this time. Country rock, and I'm not a fan of like country per se, but I do love country rock blends. Alternative country. And I think during this time, Wilco, this is the album that kind of broke him out of that pack as like the prominent country alternative country band. And yeah, it's just, I love Wilco because, you know, it's just like, it's very soothing music. You know, I love Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, you know, and then some of the other later stuff that broke away from the country rock label. But this album is still like very solid. It's just like very, very solid country rock music, which I love. You know, that kind of twangy, just kind of like, you know, Jeff Tweedy, just like his vocals are great. Yeah, Wilco being there, just a great album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Is Wilco the band that has like that one album with the buildings on the front of it and it's sort of like brownie sort of color?
Yeah.
I think you have the right band. Yeah, okay.
Yankee Hotel Foxtrot.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't listen to Wilco. Like, I haven't listened to any albums by them. I probably heard a couple songs here and there. All I know is that they've got a huge cult following. You love these cult following albums. This is what you're about. I'm about the debuts and you're about the cult following. So that's all I really know about it. And the way you describe it sort of reminds me of why I like my Modest Mouse album so much. It's just like a very soothing listen. It's like that alternative sort of sound, I guess. Both of those albums are alternative, and we both sort of describe them in the same way, and we like them for the same reasons. That's just interesting. That's what I picked up on that. But I can't really say much about Wilco themselves. Just a band that I still haven't really checked out. So yeah, you can check out Swans, and I can check out Wilco. Very different listens.
Will do.
They don't do that.
But all right, so yeah, so to recap the draft, so I picked Spice in the pop category. I picked Evil Empire in the rock category. I picked Being There, Wilco in the Wildcard category. Odelay, Beck in the alternative category. Reasonable Doubt, Jay-Z in the rap category. Richard B. James album, dance electronic category. One in a Million, Leah in the R&B category. And Kara, you want to go over your draft real quick?
Yep. Electronic, I chose Introducing by DJ Shadow. Rap, I chose The Score by the Fugees. R&B, I have to look at it's Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite by Maxwell. Alternative, I chose, what are these long ass names? This is a long drive for something with someone with nothing to talk about by Modest Mouse. Rock, I went with Soundtracks for the Blind by Swans. Pop, I went with Tidal by Fiona Apple. And then Wildcard, I went with Jamiroquai's Traveling Without Moving.
Cool. So let's talk about some of the honorable mentions that we didn't choose. And
wow,
yeah, there's some ones here. So basically, let's just get out the bat. Like, this was a great year for rap, as you can tell. Like we had good. Like Outkast, ATLiens. I mean, another one.
I'm so mad that no one said that. That's the one I thought you would pick.
I know. Score. That was the one where it was like, it was between that, The Score, and Reasonable Doubt. And like, I was just like killing myself, just like, God, you're gonna leave this album out? Fuck. But like,
I know.
Yeah, but this is like, I mean, ATLiens, I mean, it's my favorite Outkast album.
Yeah.
I mean, they made a lot of great albums, but ATLiens, there's something about it. I thought you were gonna pick that one, but we left this one out.
The Score. I can't not do it.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, so ATLiens was left out. Nas, It Was Written was left out. That was a huge album that came out. A lot of people say that this was probably his second classic. It's the album that came out after Illmatic. I love It Was Written. Probably my second favorite Nas album. Incredible stuff. Tribe Called Quest, Beats, Rhymes, and Life. Another great album. Another personal favorite of mine is De La Soul Stakes Is High. Great album. My favorite De La Soul album. Busta Rhymes, The Coming. That was his first album.
I love The Coming. I've been listening to The Coming for like the last 3 days straight. I literally was so close to picking The Coming. Rewind the tape. I was going between 3 different albums. It was ATLiens, The Score, and The Coming. The Coming,
Mm,
I love just as much as those
so
other two
good.
albums. I know that The Coming's probably not as good as those other two albums, but I love it so much.
It's so
It's
good.
so fun. It's
Hmm.
such a fun listen.
Woo-ha! God
Woo-ha, it's got you all in check. Oh my God, that song's amazing. And then just
incredible.
the rest of the album's just so fun as well. That's probably the most, like, that is probably the album I actually have listened to the most growing up when it comes to rap. Like, I loved Busta Rhymes growing up. I like him on, as we just talked about, Tribe Called Quest. Like, when he features on Tribe Called Quest, I love his bars. And then The Coming is such a, oh, it's so sad I couldn't pick The Coming or
I
80
know.
Aliens.
I
I
know.
know.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Tupac, All Eyes on Me,
All
and,
eyes on me.
the Dill Kilamati, Seventh Day Theory, both albums. I think that one was released after he passed away, but both solid Tupac albums. Snoop Dogg's The Dog Fodder also came
Hmm.
out this year. Um, UGK's Riding Dirty, that also came out this
Damn.
year. Trying to see what else in the rap category. I mean, they're
Hardcore by Lil
hardcore.
Kim.
Lil Kim, yeah, that another great one.
Yeah.
Foxy Brown's El Nana, another great one. What else did you have in the rap category? That
That you said it all. I like my short list was like 80 Aliens,
Mhm.
Hardcore, The Dog Father, It Was Written, Beats, Rhymes, and Life, All Eyes on Me, The Score, and The Coming. That was like my short list. So you've mentioned all of them.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, just a stellar year for hip
But yeah,
hop.
the fact that that's my short, like some other categories only had two things written down.
Exactly.
I couldn't stop putting things down for rap.
I
It was
know.
crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
There's 10 of these that I could have put in.
Yeah.
And then, so for the alternative, another great album. Well, people, it has its cult following as well. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the band, but Weezer, Pinkerton, this was their second album
Oh, yeah,
after
totally.
the
I
Blue
saw
album.
that, but yeah, I'm not a Pinkerton fan. I'm a Blue Album fan. Like Blue
Yeah, me
Album's one of my
too.
favorite albums of all time. But
Yeah,
Pinkerton, I need more listens, maybe
yeah.
something. A
Is
lot of
that
people like it.
Yeah, it has a huge cult following. It definitely was influential. I think you know, for Weezer fans, when it came out, it was, people hated it, and then it's gone on to become a classic album. I still love the Blue Album a little bit more. I just think that it just was the best of Weezer. But Pinkerton has his fans, so that could have been a choice. Tony Braxton's Secrets, a good, decent pop album that came out in
Hmm.
'96. Unbreak My Heart still goes in. You're Making Me High. Tony Braxton, definitely nostalgia. What else? I think.
Going back to going back to the alt category for a second,
Mhm.
like I mentioned, but on Avery Island, which is like Neutral Milk Hotel's first album, I think, their debut, another debut album that I really, really like. I prefer their second album, obviously. That's the album with like Airplane Over the Sea, like everyone knows. But I do appreciate On Avery Island, and I do like Neutral Milk Hotel, so I wanted to mention that one because there's a bit of a following for that band as well. So that album came out this year. With the pop category, I didn't have anything else written down except Spice and Tidal. Not
Yeah, I
gonna
mean,
lie.
yeah, like I said, there's Celine Dion falling into, if you're into any fans that are into Celine Dion out there. She actually won Album of the Year Grammy this year
Oh,
over The Score and Odelay. So
okay.
don't know how that happened, but okay.
Yeah, she was a powerhouse and a power figure during those times. Sort of
Oh
makes
yeah,
sense.
this
Yeah,
definitely, yeah, this the
the
Titanic
time.
thing,
Yeah.
that song, that annoying Titanic song, and then anybody who is a Belle and Sebastian fan, there is the classic "If You're Feeling Sinister." I haven't really gotten into. I know Belle and Sebastian has their like cult fans, but a lot of people talk about this album. But it
I'd
came out
never
this.
heard of them.
Yeah, it has its cult following. Nick Cave.
Okay.
Murder
I
Ballads.
know. Okay, Nick Cave
Ballads.
Murder Ballads, amazing folk album. I love Nick Cave. I love my Australian dad. Like he's amazing. He's my
Gotta
Australian father.
represent.
I love him. There's just other Nick Cave albums that I love
Me
a
too.
lot more,
Me
and
too.
this one just sort of falls below all those. So I was like, I can't really pick it. Like, if there's any other year with like a better Nick Cave album, I'm picking it. So I love Nick Cave. Yeah. There's
Tool.
Telegram. Oh, Tool. But I was gonna
Came
say
out.
Telegram. I was gonna say Telegram Bjork. I really like that. I really like Bjork. But once again, it's another album where like I love the artist, but maybe like the album, there's other albums I would pick over. You know?
Yeah, if this was a different year,
Yeah.
a different Bjork album would have been on my list
Exactly.
for sure.
Yeah.
REM's New Adventure in Hi-Fi, solid album. I mean, it's not like one of my favorite REM albums, but definitely has his cult following. Let's see, Marilyn Manson's Antichrist Superstar, which
Fun.
been in the news lately. So, but obviously this album, broke him into the mainstream. He scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. Just terrifying. There's also Pearl Jam's No Code. Not a huge fan of this album. I mean, I liked Vitalogy. Are you a big Pearl Jam fan?
I really like, what's the one with, is it Black? 10?
Yeah.
I really like 10 and Vitalogy. Yeah, those are my
Yeah.
two albums. Yeah.
Yeah. This album doesn't really get a lot of replay value. Sheryl Crow's self-titled album. That could have been the pop category, but or rock category, but not a big Sheryl Crow fan. Metallica's Load came out this year. You big Metallica fan?
A joke. I will eventually do a video on them reacting to more of their music. Maybe I'll get around to this album.
Yeah, this album.
I'm a few decades before that right now.
Yeah, this album, I mean, was very different from, I mean, this one was kind of like them doing like country rock, southern rock. I don't know. It's
what?
Yeah, like they completely changed their sound here. Listen, there's some good
I'm
songs
gonna have to
here,
react to that
like,
eventually.
There's some good songs here, but nah, this is not like, I don't return to this often, but it sold very well. Nirvana's From the Muddy Banks of the Wish God is kind of like a contemplation album. Oh, another great rap album. I can't believe I forgot this one. Ghostface Killah's Iron Man.
Oh. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Another one.
I don't listen to him much, but that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think Supreme Clientele is the better album, but I had to mention it here. The Roots, Ella Delph, Half-Life.
Oh.
Another solid album by them. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it on the album mention. Did you have anything?
The only other one that we haven't talked about is Fashion Nugget by Cake. This album, I think there's a lot of duds and a lot of boring parts of the album, but it does have my third favorite song of all time, The Distance. So I have to say something about it just because it has that album, it has that song on it, and there is a few other songs that I can get around and I think they're like fun once again. So yeah, just that's the only other one I would mention, but we pretty much covered everything.
There's a couple other on the rock category. There's Korn, Life is Peachy, and Pantera, The Great Southern Trendkill. And yeah, that's about all I had for this one.
That's it. We've covered it all. Hopefully, if someone has figured out we haven't covered one, I'm sure they'll tell us about it.
Yeah, leave in the comment section if we missed the album from this year. But
yeah, that's it. Now it's time to figure out who won the draft.
All right. So Kira has so what we've done is we took all our draft picks, we compiled our scores using rateyourmusic.com to see who had the best draft. So Kira, read off the scores. I can already tell this is I'm not gonna like this, but go ahead.
I'm so bad at keeping things like under wraps. Like I'm so bad. Okay. All right. Let's start with the rap category. Start with the score. For the score, I scored. Wait, I should get a calculator. Do you have a calculator on hand, or should I go grab one?
I do. I got one.
All right. With the score, Oh, actually, I'll calculate mine and then you calculate yours because I'm going to do them category by category. Calculator. Okay, for the score, in the rap category for me, I scored a 3.77. And Kevin with Jay-Z scored a 3.88. So you won the rap category.
Wow. Okay.
Nice. I know, I was really surprised by the scores rating. I was like, what? Excuse me? I thought that would be like the best album that came out that year, but no.
I slightly beat you like by that was good, like 0.1. That's
Point
very
one,
close.
yeah.
Very close.
Yeah, 0.11. It's because it's out of 5, so they're all pretty
Okay.
close together.
Okay.
So R&B, Maxwell scored a 3.68. So I'm gonna add that on. And Aaliyah, is that how you say her name?
Aaliyah.
Aaliyah scored a 3.65. Pretty close.
So you won that one, right?
By 0.03.
Wow.
So Kevin, Kira. Modest Mouse in the alternative category for me scored a 3.78.
Okay.
And then Beck Odelay scored a 3.73.
What?
I'm so confused.
Are you serious? I thought I had that one in the bag.
Score in the bag. What the, like the score literally lost to JC. So I have no idea.
So
we don't even have to add them up. We can just go who won each category.
So Modest Mouse got 3.78, right?
Modest Mouse got 3.78 and Beck got 3.73. So I won that by 0.05.
Wow.
Then we have Rock.
Okay.
My random Swans pick, soundtracks for the blind. And you with Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine got a 3.57. And Swans got a 4.12. You better check out that Swans album.
What is going on here?
Face is so fun. I've never seen you pull these expressions before. Swans is really good though. I agree with that one. Like it's a really good album. It's just like acquired taste.
Now,
you know what I mean?
now I'm not confident in any of these scores anymore. I don't know what's gonna happen. I thought I had a couple of these in the bag. I have no idea now. So we'll see.
you think Beck would win? I don't understand that. Wildcard, Jamiroquai with 3.48, and Wilco with 3.74. So Kevin.
Okay.
Nice one. Nice win. I mean, Jamiroquai. Yeah, like.
Yeah.
It's such a like I literally
still respect for Jamiroquai. Much respect.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. The pop category.
Oh my God. I'm gonna walk out the snowy window right now.
Oh God. Okay.
I'm expecting the worst.
Pop category. So pop category, I got a score of 3.7 on Tidal. Respectable sort of middle score that you would expect.
Okay.
And then Kevin comes through with the 2.83 on Spice.
Oh. They're haters still. That's what that is.
Yeah.
They're hating on Spice Girls.
It's the wrong crowd on that website, you know.
They don't respect if I want to be your lover, all right? They had no lovers. They're very lonely people.
Someone needs to get all the young females on that site, like ASAP, please. All right. And then the final category, electronic. My first pick, I really wanted this pick. Didn't work out for me. You know what I mean? I want to know. So, Kevin got a score of 3.81 on Aphex. Very normal, maybe a bit higher than average score. Then Kira, with introducing, comes through with another 4.12.
Wow.
Same score as Swans. Damn,
wow.
That's it. Introducing and Swans, man. They won it for me. That's crazy.
I didn't get a single 4.
That's no, crazy. Those are the early 2 4s. You got 2 though.
No, you got two. No, you got the 2 fours. So, I mean,
No, no,
I
but
guess
no,
if you round it up. I mean, I guess if you
you
round it
got two
up,
for spice.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Damn.
that's it. That's it. So I think Kevin, you won the wild card and the rap category. I expect you to win the rap category. That makes sense. I'm you know so much more about rap than I do, honestly. Like I feel like I listened to like The Coming, The Score, and 80 Alien and 80 Lions. Oh, I can't say the
18 aliens. Yeah. Yeah.
80 Lions. Um, but you listen to all those other albums. You know about like Ghostface Killer. Like you got it all. So that
I
makes sense.
actually thought that you were gonna take the rap category, but like I said,
Nah.
no bad choice in that category. And listen, no bad choice in any of these
Good.
categories. Those hate,
Maybe
but
Spice.
maybe Spice. Hey, listen, I was on a ledge. I'll die on that ledge. You know, I will admit, but I
That's
had to
it.
go. I had to go for it. I knew I had a sense that you're probably gonna pick Spice. So you know what? Let me rush and get in there before the party starts. All right,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get in there. It backfired. So,
I was close. Yeah, I was close to picking Spice. Like honestly, I was so 50-50 on that. But you came in, like you said, like dive in head first, don't even look. You know what I mean?
exactly. But so yeah, so Kira has, according to the Rate Your Music scores, has won the '96 album draft. But
Woo!
but listen, you know, obviously we all did this in good fun.
Yeah.
This is just one person's opinion. You know, these albums are all great that we talked about. Check them out. And yeah, any closing comments with this draft?
Just that I love this idea. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your channel to do this idea with you. And also, it's just been so fun to re-listen back on some 1996 albums that I wouldn't have listened to maybe for a while from now if you hadn't asked me to do this. So it's just been nice to rediscover or discover some albums that I love. Like I'm gonna go listen to Maxwell like after this. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
Same. And you
Yeah.
brought up like, you know, haven't thought about Jamiroquai in like maybe decades. I gotta go check his stuff and Swans and like Modest Mouse. I had no idea Modest Mouse was making music in the '90s. So, you
Yeah.
know, I think yeah, it was great to hear like bands and groups that I probably wouldn't have checked out if you didn't mention them.
All right. Yep. I'm gonna finish this video doing this with
All right.
my 4.12.
Yeah. Kira, plug your channel and your social medias.
My channel name is Kirawasadiver. That's where I talk about records and a lot of the time, as well as some other physical media. And then also I have a channel called Kira Was a Reactor, where I react to metal music, if anyone's a metal fan. And then I'm also Kira Was a Diver on Instagram. That's it.
Nice, nice.
Thank you for having me on.
No problem.
Everyone subscribe to I'm a Music Nerd.
Yes,
Please.
and everybody subscribe to Kirawasadiver. Her both of her channels, and and blow her up on Instagram. Tell her that Spice Girls is the greatest I've ever made. Anyways, YouTube recommends these 2 videos to check out after this one. Like I said, you know, if you enjoy the content of this channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate your support, and as always, you know, till next time, peace.
Bye. Do my bye at the end.